to the skate park and you're wondering what you should do? Well, I've got a few tips and tricks for you to kickstart the career, so let's get into that. In a previous video, I went over your first day at the skate park, which included stuff like learning to pump, manuals, and going down the smallest ramp, as well as getting over the fear of people being there. In this video, I'm going to teach you a few things that we're going to develop off of that basis, such as going up and down to bigger ramps, riding to fakie, and a few basic tricks to kick off the career. The first thing we're going to do is learn how to ride to fakie. Now, if you don't know what fakie means, that just means riding up a ramp and coming down backwards. So we want to bend our knees on the way up the ramp and bend our knees slightly on the way back down, but you want to keep your balance nice and spread apart. So your front foot is going to be on the front bolts and your back foot is going to be on the tail. The reason why it's on the tail is so now we can control. We learned tic-tacs in the last video, so if you haven't seen it, go back and watch that one after this one. So push off, get yourself a decent bit of speed, and then just bend your knees on the way up, bend your knees on the way down. That is how to ride fakie. Now that we're in fakie, I'm going to teach you how to get yourself back to normal. So a great maneuver to do once you're riding a fakie is up the ramp, down the ramp, and then we want to turn ourselves back around. So now we're riding forward again. This is called a fakie revert or kick turn. It's such an easy to learn trick that even Holly behind the camera learned it within a few hours. So what you want to do is, as you're coming backwards, you're going to already turn your shoulders so that your hips can follow along. The key to skateboarding and doing spins and turns is to make sure your upper body can see and guide where you're going so that your lower body can follow. And it is actually way easier than it seems, especially if you're in your first couple of weeks of skateboarding. So what we're going to do is, as we're riding backwards, turn those shoulders so you're already facing the way you want to go, put a bit of weight on this one and turn around. The hardest part is getting the full rotation all the way around. So when you first start, you're going to be doing stuff like this and stepping off. But the more confidence you get doing it, the easier it's going to be. So the key to the turn is, and bear in mind, you can actually do this stationary if you want to practice standing still, but you do get a bit better momentum going backwards. So stand still, face that way, put a bit of weight on your back foot, lift a bit of weight off the front foot and bend that knee. So you go like this, like you would for your manual, and then just bring those hips around to follow the shoulders. So right, say I'm standing normally, want to go that way, looking that way, hips, turn with it, just like that. At first, you maybe want to look down at the skateboard just to see what's going on, but it's exactly the same. As I mentioned, lift this foot up and turn the hips, just like that. It's one of them ones that's going to take a lot of practice. You're going to be doing a lot of these, getting halfway, stepping off. But after a while, you should be able to get it just over that halfway point, and then you can sort of stay on. Then you can stay on the board and just finish the rotation with a second tic-tac, and just keep doing that to the point where you can get the board far enough around that you can continue rolling in that direction. Now that's one of the most basic tricks there is, so practice that a lot and get yourself into it. Now we're going to see if we can get down one of the slightly larger ramps at the skate park. If you're not feeling comfortable with this, go to the smallest one, do that a whole bunch of times and then come back. But all ramps are essentially the same, you're just spending a millisecond more time on the ramp. So, feet spread apart just like we did when we went up and back to fakie. Bend those knees, edge yourself into the ramp, and then bend those knees and lean forward. It's always better to lean forward rather than lean backwards, because if you lean backwards, chances are you'll fall on your ass. But if you lean forwards, at least you can see where you're going. So say if I was going to trip over, I'd want to trip and go forward so I can stop myself, but if I was to trip and fall backwards, game over. Right, the next lesson we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to withstand impact a tiny bit. This will get you used to hitting the ground after an ollie and all sorts of other tricks, but I'm going to show you the easiest way to do it. So follow me. Right, so find yourself a bench or just anything that has like a slight bit of height. It could literally be a curb if you wanted to start at the bottom. But what we're going to do is we're just going to ride off the end. So again, this is another trick you can learn in your first week at the skate park if you wanted to. So it's just as simple as lifting the front wheels up a tiny bit, like a millisecond of manual off the edge, and you'll land all four wheels at the same time. Just a little something like this. And bend your knees when you land to withstand the impact. Obviously it's not a lot of impact on something like this, but the more you get used to those good habits of bending your knees when you land, the better off you're going to be in the future. So this one is less skill intensive, but it's all in the timing. So obviously you're not gonna wanna just ride off the edge like that, because unless it is actually a curb, you're gonna encounter a problem like this. So all you wanna do is as you get towards the end, as your front wheels are about to come off, just do a tiny little manual and come off the edge. Make sure you keep your weight nice and spread apart and evenly balanced like normal. Don't lean too far back, don't lean too far forward. And just time it so that all 4 wheels hit the ground at the same time. You don't need hardly any speed for this whatsoever. Like I said, it's all in the timing. Just like that. So this has been Dan, the Webz Best Skateboarding Instructor. If you'd like to support me, consider picking up some Ray Vegan Energy with code Webz or becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next week.